Right now, our moderator for tonight is the secretary of the Southern Christian Leadership Conference of Southern California. She is a millennial lawyer. Jamie Wright is a senior attorney in the area of labor and employment and injury law. She focuses on discrimination, harassment, and wrongfully death cases throughout the state of California. Ms. Wright, who is licensed to practice law in the state of California, graduated from the University of California, Berkeley. While at Berkeley, she worked for the mayoral campaign of the former mayor of Berkeley, Tom Bates. Due to her commitment to the campaign and work ethics, Wright was appointed to the city of Berkeley's Peace and Justice Commission at age 19. After graduating from UC Berkeley, Wright attended the University of California, San Francisco, formerly known as the UC Hastings College of the Law. In 2022, Wright was part of an all-female trial team who secured an 8-figure verdict against the Los Angeles Community College District on behalf of a professor who was sexually harassed. And in 2023, she had one of the top 20 wrongfully death settlements against a public entity in Solano County. Thus far, in 2025, Wright has secured one of the largest whistleblower retaliation settlements in San Francisco County. We have the right person as our moderator, and we are proud that she is a member of SCLC. At this time, my friend, Jamie Wright.
Thank you, Pastor Smart. I appreciate it. It's an honor and a privilege to serve in the capacity as the Secretary of the Board of Directors for the Southern Christian Leadership Conference of Southern California and all the important work that we do, this being one of them. We now find ourselves at yet another crossroad where our firefighters, particularly our African-American ones, are not only concerned about risking their lives, but also are faced with the challenge of potentially risking their livelihood from discriminatory practices and being treated differently based on their color. We have here tonight the president of the Stentorians, Captain Hawkins, and several of his fellow firefighters who are African-American, and they can speak truth to power in their own stories and share with us what has been happening within the fire department regarding these policies and the leadership.
Thank you. Thank you for that, Jamie. And first, I want to thank everyone who logged on tonight. It's a privilege and an honor, Pastor Smart, our chaplain of the Stentorians, that you got us all together for a very important issue that we want to enlighten the community on things that the public is just not privy to. I want to thank all the people that logged on tonight on Facebook and Facebook Live. Thank you for taking the time to listen in so we can identify, talk about, and find a solution to end discrimination, harassment, racism, and retaliation in the Los Angeles Fire Department, but most importantly, in the fire service itself. Tonight, we have a group of firefighters logging in from across the nation. I've got communications early this morning saying firefighters in New York, New Orleans, firefighters in Texas, Missouri. We're all logging in and in support of what we're trying to accomplish. We also spoke with the president of OJB, that's the LAPD Black police officers, who is also in support. We have our brothers right down the street, LA County Stentorians, who we are locked arm with. And it's a privilege to all get together tonight with so many people and talk about this issue that plagues our fire department. Before we get started, it's important to give you just a little history on the Los Angeles Fire Department itself. The Los Angeles Fire Department has a deep-rooted history of tradition. Oftentimes we're looked to in the public for our bravery and our dedication to the citizens we serve. However, behind the front lines, there's a deeper story. There's a story of people that are left out, people that have not been included since the beginning of the existence of the Los Angeles Fire Department. And that problem in 2025 has not changed today. Tonight, we'll be discussing issues, responding to allegations, most recent allegations during the Palisades fire, and push for real change in our fire service. I am the president of the Stentorians, which means a loud and powerful voice. Our organization was founded in 1954 to combat racial injustice in the fire service. It was founded by a man named Arnett Hartsfield and a group of Black firefighters coming together, utilizing their voice and fighting discrimination, racism, and segregation that plagued our fire department. Today, our fight still stands. Our mission is recruitment, retention, and promotion of all members in the LAFD. Notice I said all. One thing we learned in our organization is never be guilty of what we accuse. I want to start off by leading the charge and talking about issues that I have faced. Tonight, I have young firefighters that are courageous enough to come and talk about incidents that they recently encountered. My issues and incidents and discrimination and harassment started off since I was a rookie firefighter, being told I wasn't welcomed in the fire department. I only got hired because I was a Black man and basically given a job and told that I wasn't welcome to go in the captain's office. Years later, I've seen a pattern of discrimination and harassment. Most recently, I was a captain on the Palisades fire. For multiple days, I spent 9 days there. On day number 3, after fighting fire with my crew, we decided to go down to our headquarters station in Palisades to stop at the food truck to get some dinner. As I approached, there was a strike team, which means a lot of different engine companies, taking a break in the front of the station. I got out the apparatus and walked towards these men. I went to go shake hands. I got to one captain and he looked at me with disgust. And as I had my hand extended for a handshake, he spat chewing tobacco, which got on my hand and didn't extend his hand for a handshake. I had a very quick opportunity to process this. And I told myself in my head, I can't say nothing about this right now because he's going to deny it. And they're going to make me seem like there's something wrong with me. So I kept my hand out there and looked at him dead in his eyes. He finally extended his hand to shake mine. I gave him a firm handshake, looked him in his eyes, and basically recited or told him his last name. I kept shaking hands and got back on my rig. I knew I was unwanted. I knew that this was done because I was a Black fire captain. And I went on about my day. After the Palisades fire, I was alarmed to hear that there was an issue, that there was a complaint placed in about a captain that was told, F this guy, his kind isn't wanted here. Come to find out, that captain made that comment and was talking about me. That's one of the incidents that occurred. Another incident with this same engine company or captain, days later, he was describing an issue with the apparatus that they drove, and he told a young Black firefighter to cover their ears. And as that firefighter went to cover his ears, he said that this operation is nigger rigged. The firefighter heard it, his company heard it. They also made a complaint. These are some of the stories that plague our fire department, but it's important to point out that these incidents, they date back as far as the old Trump administrations in the COVID days. During the January 6th insurrection, we had a group of firefighters, retired firefighters, who were chief officers, who decided to go down to the Capitol buildings with their white helmets and post on social media, which said LAFD. In their posts, they put, "We are in support and protected by the Proud Boys," and another group called the militia. There's been other social media postings that bring discredit to the fire department, where fire stations will post captions under their fire department photos, calling themselves the Proud Boy Fire Department. There's been a host of shrines built in fire stations, which is against policy, of Donald Trump and Make America Great hats. They even went as far as designing their own LAFD great hat, saying "Make the LAFD great." Well, I'm here to tell you, the LAFD has never been great for Black firefighters. We're here to talk about these issues, to point out these issues, and to call for change from our leadership. These issues are not new. We have been talking about these issues with our fire chiefs, and nothing has happened. The fire department lacks accountability. You have to understand that racism, of course, exists in the world, but the fire department is a microcosm, okay, that escalates hate and racism, and it's deep rooted with in-groups and out-groups. It's time to put a stop to these evil acts and to give all firefighters their proper place of equality. I yield. At this time, I want to call on one of the firefighters. One of the issues that I failed to describe is we've had a recent uptick in our young Black firefighters on probation who have been recommended for termination and have ultimately been fired or let go. These firefighters are being let go for what the fire department says is a performance issue. They're being told things like they have a retention problem, that they are unsafe for themselves and unsafe for the crew. They're being called to the captain's office and asked, you need to look at yourself and really ask yourself, do you really believe that you got what it takes and you belong here? These type of tactics are meant to discredit and lower one's confidence. These young Black firefighters are coming on the job with college degrees, bachelor's and master's, star athletes at their, college level, and can definitely do the job. My fight to fire department leadership, and what I'm telling you, instead of always building and writing and looking at performance first, look at the complaints, talk to the firefighters. They all have complaints of discrimination and harassment, being told that they talk too hood, that they're not welcomed, that they're, and excuse my language, but, let's be real here. They're called effing idiots, they're belittled, and they're not given the tools to succeed and to thrive so they could serve the Black communities of Los Angeles. This has to stop, and it has to stop now. I am calling on fire department leadership, and I know you're watching, and I know that there's naysayers watching. We need your help too. We need you to stop denying that racism exists, because by denying, you are a part of the problem. We are asking you to assist so we can make the LAFD equitable for all its members. At this time, Jamie, if you're okay with it, I want to call on one of the firefighters.
I think that as many as you would like, and if they could just keep it to like 5 minutes. but
Sure.
I'd like for them to share their experiences. Yes.
Sure. I'm going to give a brief intro. Damian Martin was recently terminated from our job. He was a rookie that was a whistleblower in the drill academy because a white captain, said something inappropriate to him, which was deemed to be a EEO violation. He then didn't know the culture of the fire department and started playing the dozens with this captain and said something back in humor. Well, that captain put a complaint against him, but didn't tell the full story. The Stentorians got a hold of it and fought for this member, went to PSD and represented this member, and they threw this case out. Now this member continued on probation. He had allegations of other things that were just total lies. He ultimately got hurt while on probation, had surgery on probation, and because of the long and broken system of workman's compensation, he was ultimately let go because he was told he didn't have enough time to complete his 2.5 shifts to complete probation. Damian Martin, would you like to speak on that matter?
Yes. Can everybody hear me well?
Yes.
Thank you. Thank you, Cap. My name is Damian Martin. I am currently not employed with the LA City Fire Department anymore. I am 26 years old. And just from the start of me being hired in 2022 with the Los Angeles City Fire Department, I have been exposed to racial discrimination, sexual harassment, and as a result of wrongful termination. I've experienced extremely unprofessional communication conduct from a captain in the drill tower, and where the captain withheld information, and they planned on terminating me in the drill tower before graduation after I successfully completed all of the phases and tests and provided. Throughout my career, it has followed me. And it has created a toxic work environment through every station that I've worked at. My privacy was violated, as captains told me that it'll be a safe place to talk. And then the whole crew will then know and start to ask me questions throughout my shifts to dive deeper. And then they would also use it against me in my performances if any mistakes were made as a rookie. And then also just making small remarks about who I am as a person and how I am and who I am. I sustained an injury on duty in my last station before completing probation. I spoke with my captain, who then told me that I had approximately 10 shifts left to finish at the time right before I injured myself. I had to wait 5 months before surgery. Now, when returning back to duty, they gave me 4 different dates on when my end date was to complete probation and how many shifts, and there was miscommunication. I was notified once on a date that I had until to complete probation, which was January 1st. I did the calculations myself, the audit myself, and I corrected them that I had until January 4th. Then I was reached out by another captain and told me that I did not have until January 4th, that I've passed that date. And then they went forward on telling me that I had a certain document that was signed by me, that said that I had until a certain point in time to finish. They denied me proof of that document that I signed. I also asked for my timekeeping card. They denied me of that. And I worked very hard to be able to heal in the right ways to get back to duty and doing what I love, which was serving Los Angeles City as a firefighter paramedic. And they put me and my family in a financial hardship as they stopped me from working immediately without any explanation on moving forward or what's going on. They just said, stop coming in. And so from the start, it's been following me. I've been discriminated against. And I've been always in communication with the captains, with MLU, and any and everybody that I needed to be in communication with to return back to full duty. and complete probation and be successful. And they terminated. Well, they gave me the option to be terminated or resign in lieu of termination, and they told me that I would have missed my time by 2.5 shifts. I made every effort to get back to work, and that's where they stopped me.
Thank you, Damien.
Yes,
So
sir.
the Stentorians went ahead and advocated for Damien Martin. These issues, I spoke to the fire chief at the time, Christian Crawley, about this issue. She then had one of her staff members look at it, and ultimately they decided not to look at his case and not to let him complete his 2.5 shifts to finish probation. And I want to point out that the citizens of Los Angeles invested a lot of money into this individual and time. And now another city gets to reap the benefits of the training and having a firefighter to serve their community now. Other issues with recent firings of probationary members, I have on Andrew Cox, who was recently fired. Andrew Cox went to a fire commission meeting, and I commend this brother right here because he spoke to talk about his treatment, and he asked the Chief Crawley, directly for an opportunity to look at his case. We haven't heard anything from that to this day. Andrew, would you take a couple minutes to describe your story and what happened to you?
Yes, sir. Good evening, everyone. My name is Andrew Cox, and I was asked by Stentorians President Captain Hawkins to share with you my experience as a probationary firefighter. Before I do that, I would like to thank Captain Hawkins for his support. I would also like to thank Los Angeles Fire Commission President Hudley Hayes and the fire commissioners for their kind words at the February 18th commission meeting. I was not allowed to finish the second stage of my probationary period due to the negative experiences and the lack of leadership and support during my first stage of the probationary period. First off, I would like to say that I played football and other sports most of my life, so physical challenges and intense environments are not foreign to me or anything new to me. On September 6, 2024, it was the day I graduated from the academy, and it was one of the greatest days of my life. It gave me a deep sense of pride for my entire family and myself. I was extremely excited and happy to be assigned to Stage 52 for my Stage 1 probationary period. I was familiar with the area and was looking forward to applying what I had learned in the academy to real-life situations and scenarios. On the morning of February 12th, during my second shift at Station 88, my second house, after returning back to the station from a call, I was called into the office and blindsided when a captain from the workplace effectiveness section told me to either resign or be fired. I was told that if I ever wanted to work as a firefighter again, I should resign so there would be no record of me being terminated. This was one of the worst days of my life. On February 14th, I sent the email to Chief Crowley rescinding my resignation and asking to be reinstated and allowed to complete Stage 2 of my probationary period. On February 18th, I spoke before the Los Angeles Fire Commission, asked for their help in returning me to active duty and outlining some of the circumstances at Station 52 that I experienced. In retrospect, had I not been naive, I would have realized that on day one, my captain was determined to set the stage for me to be fired. I was never expected to succeed at Station 52, and my captain was determined to make sure that I was terminated or that I quit. I recall during the academy when receiving our assignments after hearing the name of the captain I was assigned, one of the drill instructors let out a big chuckle and remarked, "Cox, you got Klein? There's no way you're going to survive your first house." My interactions with my captain were horrible and went far beyond what many of my classmates shared they were experiencing in their Stage 1 house. Probation is not easy. It is not supposed to be easy. I knew this and was prepared for this, but with my captain, it seemed personal. On my first shift at 52, after asking for water while drilling, I was forced to be transported to the hospital. I never asked to go to the hospital. I'm in excellent condition. I simply asked for water. The doctor checked me out, and I returned and finished my shift the very same day. On my very next shift, my captain went on one of his many daily rants lasting 20 to 30 minutes, occurring multiple times throughout each shift, and he stated that I did not deserve this job and expressed anger at the department for hiring me. He went on stating, "That's the problem with the department. Back in the day, you actually had to work and earn your spot. Now they just give it to anybody." On my last shift of my first segment, my captain told me that I did not deserve this job and the department made a mistake by hiring me. On October 7th, I was required to do 4 hours of drilling individually while wearing full PPE and SCBA from 8 a.m. to noon without water being accessible. From 8 a.m. to 9:15, I was given a go drill that required me to do multiple rounds of bear crawling, farmer's carry, hitting the tire with a sledgehammer, throwing the 20X, and step-ups. After I finished these rounds, I was told to don my SCBA for time while still in full PPE. From 9:30 to 11:30 a.m., with the exception of one medical call during that period, I performed my 2.5-inch hose manipulation drill, where I was flowing and controlling major water flow as well as deploying and controlling my hose line in full PPE and SCBA. During the second portion, I requested water and was told, if you need water, then you can't do this job. I am sharing this for context. 20 minutes after returning to the station, we responded to a structure fire first on scene. I deployed the correct amount of hose, got my hose line in place, and completed interior fire attack, putting the fire out. During overhaul, while still in my full turnouts, I was asked to move kitchen equipment to another location outside the structure. After doing so, my captain questioned my whereabouts and stated, "Where were you? You weren't drinking water, were you?" Other members from different stations on scene told me to put on a brush jacket and get water. However, by that time, there was no water remaining on scene. After the overhaul phase, I was expected to throw the 20X ladder to a window to reposition a blind, and I told him that I was experiencing forearm cramps. He replied, "So you're telling me you can't do this job? If you can't do this job, then you need to get transported to the hospital." Due to me being transported during my first shift, I desperately did not want to go again and appear as if I could not do the job. After putting the ladder back, it was about 2 p.m. and we were finally able to stop and go get lunch. Once we got lunch, I stopped at there's a liquor store right behind. I grabbed a Gatorade, and vitamin water to boost my electrolytes as I was physically exhausted. I proceeded to drink the Gatorade and sat down. 2 minutes later, started experiencing full body cramps and vomiting. This also led me to get transported to the hospital. Later that evening, I had requested to return to finish my shift, and the doctor refused to allow me to return and said that I came dangerously close to permanently damaging my kidneys. In fact, he stated that he would not clear me to return to duty until I got checked out the next day and verified that I was okay. The battalion chief came to visit me at the hospital and asked me what had occurred. I did not report my captain, and I kept my mouth shut because I did not want to look weak or that I could not do my job. I also believed that I would suffer retaliation if I told anyone in command what was going on. My fear of retaliation is the reason I obligated to concur on my daily observation reports, even if I disagreed. Every day, my captain asked me if I had learning disabilities, mental disorders, CTE from playing football, called me a fucking idiot, told me I was not a man, and this happened the entire duration of my time at 52. I was routinely given go drills in full PPE and SCBA at all times of the night, one of these times being at 3 a.m. Another being in the rain at 9:30 p.m. while I was sick. This caused me to actually miss my next shift. In December of 2024, my body armor and web gear, which are crucial pieces of protective wear, were stolen out of the A-shift locker. On January 5th, while doing fire prevention, I said the word kinda to a worker at John's Market when explaining what fire prevention is, saying we need to check the expiration date on your fire extinguishers and we need to make sure that there's nothing blocking the electrical panels. I said the word kinda, and then he asked me later on when we got outside if I'm too hood to speak correctly because he knows plenty of blacks that are able to speak professionally. I believe he did this because of my geographical and ethnic background. On January 18th, my captain referred to me and called me serial killer cannibalist Jeffrey Dahmer. Aside from my captor overseeing me at Station 52, my experience working with the fire department was really good, and I worked a lot. On November 17th, along with other stations, we were able to knock down the AutoZone fire, and it was incredible to fight that fire. It was my first, what I consider big fire. It was amazing. On Tuesday, January 7th, the day of the Palisades and Eden fires began, my shift quickly turned into a 96, and our team, along with other teams, were first companies on scene, and we were able to knock down the Runyon Canyon fire. We also responded to 2 full-blown structure fires during that time, being the first and only engine companies on scene. I have completed successful fire attacks multiple times, as well as putting out countless rubbish fires. I managed to do all this and not injure myself or any members of the department or any of the members of the crew or my team. Unfortunately, none of my positives were ever reported, and any possible mistakes were sought out and reported, no matter how minuscule they were. Consequently, on paper, I look incompetent. A common example of this was my captain saying that I was contaminating equipment by getting microscopic blood that nobody could see on my gloves while obtaining a blood sugar using the glucometer. I hope me sharing some of my experiences will create a conversation and plan to support probationary firefighters that are experiencing similar situations without them fearing retaliation or being blackballed. Thank you.
Thank you, Andrew. Thank you. Again, your courage is something that is rare. I know the feeling, and I just want to thank you for coming out, being so young, but courageous enough to speak out. The next story you'll hear from a firefighter that did a great job here in South Los Angeles with protecting our community, treating all people, not just our people, with the utmost respect. I had the privilege of working close to him and around him, and I constantly got accolades for just having him be at this, work at that station. His story is somewhat recent. We talked about the Make LAFD Great hats that are circling around the South LA stations and the Trump shrines. We have a policy that basically goes against any political insignia or anything of that such. But firefighter, we'll call him Darrell, came in one morning for his shift wearing a red hat that said Black Panther. I know Darrell really well. He has a niche for Black history. He loves our history. But he came in and he was singled out. He was humiliated. He was told to take off the hat, and he was disrespected by something he believes so much in. And I'm going to have him describe his story. Darrell, if you could describe what happened to you in 2 or 3 minutes.
Hello, everyone. My name is Darrell. I've been with the city for 8 years. 7 of those been at the current station I'm at right now in South Los Angeles. I had a couple different instances with the department being showing racism. The one I'm going to tell you right now is on the morning of May 11th, 2024, I reported to duty at 6 a.m. like I do every day. Myself and other members all across the department come into work in regular clothes when we coming from home. On this morning, I had a red hat on that said the Black Panthers, and it had a black fist on the right side of the hat. Underneath the brim is a picture of the Black Panthers marching. Also had on Nike shorts, black Nike socks, and Nike slides. Work officially does not start until 8 a.m., and members do not have to be in uniform until 8 a.m. Most members get to work early to check the apparatus to make sure everything is in working order, check the equipment on the apparatus to make sure there's enough supply for our 24-hour shifts, and make sure there are all the life-saving equipment that we need for the day. On this day, after checking out my equipment, I went and sat down in the kitchen at approximately 7:15 when a white captain stepped into the kitchen and asked me to come into the front office. When I went into the front office, the captain asked me, "What does that hat mean to you?" I told him, "The Black Panthers are a group of individuals who started a free breakfast program for kids, tutor kids, amongst other things, all while providing justice for Black people." The captain's response was, "It is a hat that should not be worn in the fire station." I responded, "Why not? I don't understand." And the captain replied, "We have rules about hats." I told him, "Other people came in this morning with hats on. Why are you singling me out?" He responded, "Anytime your gear is on a rig, that hat should not be worn in the fire station, and that I should take it off. And if I don't take it off, he's going to call the chief." I responded, I told him, "Go ahead and call the chief. Do what you have to do. I'm not going to take it off until 8 a.m. Everyone else is wearing regular hats. Why are you singling me out?" I also told him I have a Black Panther sticker on my water canteen. He says that has to come off. I told him, "Look at my tattoos. I have tattoos of individuals who were in the Black Panthers." He looked at my dark skin and said, "Well, I can't even see your tattoos." He was referring to my dark skin. The next morning, when I got off, I changed out of my uniform and back into my regular clothes, took all of my equipment off the rig. I put my hat back on, and I walked out of the station. And then at that point, he officially put a complaint in against me. Also, to add to that, he also said that the Black Panthers are a terrorist group.
Thank you, Darrell. And I'm going to just talk a little bit about your situation, because one thing that the public has to understand is when you come to work and you constantly see Trump or insignias or t-shirts that are offensive to Black people, but you don't say anything because of fear of backlash. And one group of people are allowed to constantly break rules to the point where it's normal. And then you decide to wear a Black Panther hat because obviously you know the history of the Black Panther Party. And to be told that it's a terrorist group right off the bat, with the undertone, the inflection in voice coming from a white captain in a hateful way, and then to be told, well, I don't care about your tattoos, with a chuckle saying you're Black anyway. Being such a small number on this fire department, that does something to you. It humiliates you, and it's a slap in the face to talk about heroes that we look up to. I want to thank you, Little, for the work that you do in South LA. Continue to do your work, and thank you for telling your story. Last but certainly not least, I have Andre, who was the young Black firefighter for 14 days servicing the Palisades area during the destructive fires. I want you to sit there and think. He had to ride with a racist white captain that back to back to back was offensive to Black people for 14 days. Andre, go ahead and come on and describe your story of what you saw, what you heard.
Can you guys hear me?
Yes.
Okay. So I just want to say thank you for having me come and talk today about this, and hopefully bring justice to everything that's going on. Sorry if it sounds like I'm in the car. I'm in the car. I'm taking my son to drop him off at his mother's house. But so for the Palisades fire, it started off the day of the actual Palisades fire. Before we even got out to the Palisades, we had a fire downtown. I'm stationed at Fire Station 9 on the A shift. I've been there for over 5 years. Where Fire Station 9 is on Skid Row, the busiest fire station in the world. This captain is stationed one station over from us at 10s. And that morning, before the Palisades fire, we had a fire downtown, and he was my captain that got relieved on as we were at the fire. At the fire, members from his station even were saying like, "Oh, you have to ride with that guy today. Oh, have fun with that." And it came down to, at that fire, we were moving a sign away from the building, and it was that captain and my captain both trying to pick it up to move it away from the building. I would bump my captain out, moved him to the side, and said, "Cap, I got it. You don't need to pick anything up. I got it." As I went down to pick it up, this captain, the racist one, turned to me with his axe and hit me in the shoulder, my right shoulder, with the top of his axe, and said, and as he was going to hit me, he said, "Pull out your fucking axe." And when he hit me in my shoulder, it kind of nudged me over a little bit, just like lifted my right shoulder up, and I proceeded to tell him off, but he ran away and didn't say anything. And even at that fire, he's just talking mess to all the other captains, saying, "Oh, this guy doesn't have his axe. Oh, does he even know what he's doing?" and stuff like that. So I let it go by, just ignored it. When we get back to the station, he's then yelling at me and talking down to me on not knowing the members at my station, because he was asking for where one member, where a firefighter was, but he was out on a call already. And he was telling me the guy's first name, but I've never heard his first name. No one ever calls this guy by his first name. And then went to the computer, realized it was one of the who the fireman was. And when I've been told him, hey, like he's down the street at another call right now. I didn't know who he was because no one ever calls him by his first name. We only call him by his last name. He's not on my shift. And he was just telling me, "Oh, you guys, are you dumb? Like, do you not know the people at your station? Are you even assigned here?" So I just walked away. Proceeding to the Palisades fire, every single time we were driving around this Palisades, we had, anytime there was a black captain, he'd be very vocal about it. Oh, that guy's fucked up. That guy sucks. That guy sucks. He's a terrible captain. He's a terrible firefighter. To any black fire captain we passed by. So the night that we arrived there, we had a fire, and we were on a 6-story building, fully involved in fire, and we were on the 4th floor. We were me and my partner on the engine picked this guy up. I was stuck in a wheelchair on the 4th floor, took him all the way downstairs, and then went back upstairs to fight fire. And when we got up there, he's just being very vocal about how crappy the battalion chief is that's running the fire. Like, oh, this guy sucks. This guy doesn't know what he's doing. Mind you, it's a black fire chief. And he even gets on the radio and tells the fire chief over the radio along the lines of basically shut up and stop talking. And just talking bad about him for the rest of the whole entire 14 days that I'm out there. Going a couple days later, on our 3rd day, Captain Hawkins was walking up to the fire station. I'm sitting behind this captain, and my head's down looking at my phone. The entire the whole entire strike team is all around us. And somebody says, "Oh, Cap, there's your boy." And I look up, and then the captain says about Captain Hawkins, "Oh, his kind's not welcome here." And everybody in the front of that station just turned to me and looked, and I just like shook my head and just put my head down. That was the 3rd incident. And then the 4th one was our rig broke down on the way to our hotel. Mind you, this is still a Palisades fire. This is like day 8, I want to say. We're at the Palisades fire, and we're on our way to our hotel, and our rig breaks down, and we blow a coolant line underneath the rig. And so we take everything off. The captain's underneath the rig, and he goes, "Oh, this has been repaired before. Somebody niggered this thing. Hey, Dre, cover your ears." So he told me to cover my ears after he said it. I turned over. I looked at the 2 other the firemen and the probationary firefighter, and I also looked at the engineer, and they both looked like they seen a deer, and they looked like deer in headlights, and they couldn't believe it. And I just took a walk just to cool down because I'm at work. I can't lose my job over and have an altercation with this guy or something getting blown back on me. So later on, we get a rental car. Before we get to the hotel, we stop at In-N-Out, and he tries to give me his a debit card and says, "Hey, everything's on me. You guys go get burgers on my debit card." And I just looked at him, and then the probationary fireman took the card. We go inside to order, but they were giving us free food because of the fires. But he didn't come into the In-N-Out. The engineer held him back at the rig and had a talk with him, and told him that he needs to apologize to me. I don't know why that word is even in your vocabulary. And you have Dre at a really good time right now, where he is a very understanding man, and he's very calm with things, and he's a very good guy. But if you don't go apologize to Dre right now, I'm shutting this whole entire strike team down. So he comes in, orders his food, and then he pulls me aside. He says, "Hey, I talk to you?" Pulls me outside, and he just starts apologizing. Hey, man, I'm sorry for what I said. I'm not a racist. Captain Dunn, boy, like I've run up the fire. I have different friends from every day walk of life. Like I'm not a racist. I'm sorry I said that. Sometimes me and my friends we talk like that, but I don't know you, so like I'm sorry that I said that. I know you don't know me like that, so I can't play around with you like that. And I told him I was like, it's not even just that. It's you hit me with your ass, and he goes, I'm sorry for that. Sometimes the AO comes out of me. And by AO, meaning the AO is the guy who drives the big fire truck with the big ladder on there. And when he said, and they're supposed to, they have like the image of being like the big tough guys and run the station. And he's like, sometimes the AO comes out of me, and I'm just like this guy's just making an excuse for everything, because nowhere in our training bulletins, in any of our department library, does it say to use your axe to even make contact with another human being. So he's making an excuse. Then I tell him about him saying his kind's not welcome here about Captain Hawkins. And he immediately cuts me off and says, "No, that guy's a racist." He was like, "No, you don't know that guy. That guy's a racist." So I just looked at him and I was like, "Okay, there's no getting through to this man, and I'm just gonna agree and just finish out these last however many days." So when
Andre,
so
I'm
after
sorry.
that,
Andre, we gotta move on. Okay. Thank you so much, Andre, for your courage. We're gonna move on. I think you got the gist of the story out, and I appreciate you and I commend you for your courage. And one thing I want to set the record straight, that I am not a racist. The Stentorians are not racist. I also want to point out that this is not about individual white firefighters. I don't believe, and the organization don't believe, all white firefighters are racist. However, we are talking about a systematic problem in the LAFD that is designed to hold Black people back, to harass and discriminate them, and retaliate against them for speaking out. We welcome the white firefighters that help us push this agenda of equality for all members. And his story alone shows you that if it wasn't for some of these white firefighters coming forward because they knew it was wrong, we probably wouldn't hear about what was said. So I want to thank them and the firefighters that don't think like this, but we have way too many, and we have poor leadership, and we've had poor leadership that doesn't acknowledge and lacks accountability. Jamie, I believe that was everyone.
Okay. We have some community leaders who I want to make sure get an opportunity to speak. But before I do that, I would like to just take a moment to say that to each of you, thank you for your courage in speaking out. Oftentimes when you're faced with risking your financial livelihood, it's a difficult choice, especially for us when we are in these places. As somebody who does this work often, your performance is bad. you're not meeting to standards is the typical pretextual reason that they give for being discriminatory, and they think that they can cover that. But the law gives you a lot of shield regarding those reasons. And quite frankly, not only are they unlawful, but they're repulsive to hear coming from a city like this, Los Angeles, that prides itself on such diversity and has women elected in office and also women that are leading these departments. So I guess my question is, Captain Hawkins, what are you hoping for from those who are listening? How can they support you? How can the members of the general public lend their support to the Stentorians and the African American firefighters?
Thank you, Jamie. The solution is number one is to tell the story and for leadership to acknowledge that there's a problem. That's the first part and the first step of it. Secondly, I'm going to ask all members of the LAFD and the community if they see something that isn't right, that is wrong against a particular individual or protected class, report it, document it, encourage those members to speak out. We have far too many young people that are afraid to say something, and they wait till the last minute and because they fear retaliation. We're going to ask the community to come together and to support the Stentorians, and to, when we call for change at our fire commission meetings, we're going to need the community to fill those seats. We're going to need to put pressure on our leaders, on the fire department leadership, so that they know that this is an issue. Well, they know it's an issue, but they have enough pressure to do something about it. We also welcome our other firefighters who are not members of the Stentorians to support us. And our center, our training center, is open to everyone. We have recruits come here to throw ladders, to practice. We teach them about the opportunities of being a firefighter. We have school programs, cadet programs, mini fire academies that run through the summertime, and we have food giveaway programs. This is a community-based organization that started out, unfortunately, due to the wrongs that were done against Blacks. But we have taken something negative and turned it to positive. And I just want support, and I want to be acknowledged by the leadership in the fire department.
One additional question before I send it back to Pastor Smart to acknowledge our other partner organizations that are here for next steps and their questions and comments. There is also just a general firefighters union, correct?
There is
Okay.
a firefighters union.
And you pay dues to that union?
Yes, we pay dues to that union, and we pay dues to that union. I've been paying dues to that union for 22 years. Yet that union has not represented me for 22 years. The benefits I get from the firefighters union is medical, which I don't really need because I have other options. So I am reaching out to the leadership in the union, and I am demanding that our union stops with the politics, and dirty politics, might I add, and start taking care of its members, especially the Black members that have been left out for so many years.
And one last thing, as I understand it, there are 3,816 firefighters in the department, and only 385 of them are Black, correct?
That's correct. And one, I just want to add to that, and this is a sad part. It is difficult to be a Black firefighter from day one from the community to actually make it off probation and start your thriving career in this fire service, let alone face discrimination and retaliation and racism. Our numbers have been on the decline for a series of years, so much so that a non-Black captain reached out to us from recruitment to say, hey, your recruitment numbers are low. You need to point this out to Fire Chief Christian Crawley. We've identified these issues and our numbers keep on dropping. So now is a time, if we want to be on this fire department 30 years from now, we have to look at these recruitment numbers and do something about it.
Thank you. That's helpful. I'm reading the chat as this is happening in live. And so you got a lot of support here. People are saying, how can we help? What can we do as a member of the general public? One person did ask, when is the next fire commission meeting? And I think that's a great question. If they want to come sit in the seats and at least direct them to where they can find out where the next fire commission meeting will be.
Let me do that real quick. If you go to online and Google LAFD.org, they have a tab called Fire Commission where they share the Fire Commission agendas. They have a list of all the meetings, and it's important that we go out there and assist our Fire Commission, because now more than ever before, this is the first time I've seen the Fire Commission actually hold the fire department accountable by asking for reports. And now we have our ex-fire chief, Christian Crawley, who blatantly denied handling the situation and delayed the time frame of getting these reports out. So yes, go to LAFD.org, look under the Fire Commission, and the list of all the Fire Commission dates and agenda items are listed on the website. Thank you.
Thank you. Pastor Smart.
Thank you, Jamie, and thank you, Robert, and all of the distinguished men that spoke today. We have with us a representative from, first of all, the NAACP, Darrell Goode. And Brother Goode, I would like for you to give 2 or 3 minutes of what's your reaction to what you heard.
I can say my thoughts and prayers to you guys are in the fire department, because you take a lot. You know, one of the problems or concerns I had back in the day, back in 70, I came in the fire department in 76, 77. We were the first class hired after the consent decree, because the fire department had not hired any Black folks over 20 years. And Arnett Hartfield was one of our supporters, with Captain Patterson, Captain Brady. And it's been 40 years plus. It doesn't seem like a whole lot has changed. The difference is the African-American community, particularly the churches, came out in support of us. When we had a class of 140 people, half of those were Black. And there was a virulence between the white captains and going after all the Black recruits. So this time around, I can, as an area director for the NAACP and with the state, we can now bring more attention to that if we come together, thanks to Reverend Smart. In terms, we've got 2 complaints in our hoppers from firefighters that we got last year that's going through our legal redress, so we're on board. Crowley needs to be thankful for Black men, because after our class, some of you guys are a little younger, but they started doing the videos in the academy because they lied so much on the recruits. And they used those videos to attack a white woman. She used it and sued them. As a consequence, white women got a foothold in it, but if it had not been for our challenge to that system, that video process, because they were lying. I'm listening to these, I'm older now, I'm listening to these young firefighters, and their stories are not any different from when we came through there. All of us, most of us were educated. When the fire department was so angry, they went to civil service and they doubled the standards for the passing the physical exam and everything else to get into the department. But what happened is they knocked out a lot of white cadets. They were coming out of service and everything else. So we were coming in with scores of 96. I don't know if you guys know the system. It's 100. And if you're military, you get 10 points at the time. I'm sure it's still there. So they had to score like 85 just to keep up with us. So I'm impressed, and you've got a lot more courage than I did. My grandfather said, don't go back. He recommend I go. I listen to a young man, the same story, resign and we'll rehire you. It was the same thing they were saying then. And although I proved it later on, Burt Pines, the city attorney, came back later. Behind me, you see on my board, my granddad said, honey, he also called it grandchildren, honey, you go back to Japan and train contractors and mercenaries because you cannot win that battle. I was going back for blood because they should not have done that they attacked the young brothers that had families because they knew they were desperate. They gave up their jobs to come and work for the fire department, and they were the ones they targeted first. So whatever we can do, I would suggest that we have a caucus, a breakfast of the community leaders, then go in and put pressure on the mayor. The construct I'm hearing in arguments now, like 1,000 people were sent home or blaming the mayor for what happened. Same construct happened when I was in the department, and white firefighters went out and put a fire at a golf course in the valley. And you guys know about quick expanding foam, but the white guys that had 15-year experience, they didn't know anything about science. So instead of using manual tools to go in to extricate the people from the plane, they went in with power tools and boom, blew up everybody. No one was killed, but they were disabled. They blamed the city for not giving them appropriate clothing and hats. Otherwise, that wouldn't have happened. So I'm coming with a somewhat jaundiced eye, but I'm in support of Stentorians because they were there. Captain Brady, Captain Patterson were there for us. We had a Captain Ordino, who I was in there, battalion commander. Well, let me go back. When we went through that process, they were in support. Captain Brady, who was an LA City engineer, he was I hope you guys don't take offense. He went to Cal Poly to get an engineering degree to be an engineer. The engineering classification in the fire department time is that you just learn how to do the controls, and they make you an engineer, a special class. But they hated him for it. So we're here. We've got 6 branches in the LA City. We'll be on board. I've got 15 branches in the LA County we'll bring to bear.
Oh, great.
But I think what we can do now is sit down and strategize. Yes. So we go into those commission meetings, we have to go in there hitting hard and make them scatter like a light on roaches.
Okay.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Brother Goode. We have Saba. We have Saba Malika, my good friend. Give your expressions.
You're much too kind.
I'm sorry. She's from the African American Cultural Center and organization US, representing Dr. Maulana Karenga and others.
Yes. Thank you so much, Pastor Smart. I really appreciate the discussion that we're having today. And I wanted to start by just saying to all of the firefighters, thank you so much for your service and the good that you bring into the world, saving lives and bringing hope to our people during, very, very difficult times. We really do appreciate all of the work that you've done. And as a executive circle member of the African American Cultural Center, US, in Los Angeles, I do bring you warm greetings from our chairman, Dr. Maulana Karenga. And one of the things that we teach in our organization is that, everything that you want to achieve as a Black person, I'm starting with Black people first, it has to be done through your culture, because your culture is going to be your shield against all types of racism that you face. if you look at what's going on right now in the country and in the world, we're living in very dangerous and difficult times. And there's a storm ahead that we're all going to have to, deal with. And if you just look throughout, not only just the fire department, but the police department, the military. I mean, just recently, General C.Q. Brown who was fired and replaced with he's a 4-star general. He was replaced with a 3-star general who isn't even qualified. So you can see that, as someone mentioned in your group, the fire department is just a microcosm of what's going on in the world. So in order to combat this, you're very right in your assessment that, it's going to take community support. And that's what we want to offer to you. We have a vehicle that Pastor Smart is a member of, the BCCLA, and that stands for the Black Community Clergy and Labor Alliance. And we meet once a month to discuss things that affect us in the community. You say you want people in the seats when you have your meetings. This is where you would come to organize and get those people to be in the seats for you. And just in terms of what you're going through on a daily basis with these people who are really empowered by the racism that they see all around them with their MAGA hats and their support for Trump, at the same time, claiming everything is DEI, which is really a code word for Black people, okay, when they're talking about DEI. You really can't expect them to be any different because, you can't expect the oppressor to stop oppressing, just like you couldn't expect a snake not to crawl on its belly or a baboon to sit on their haunches. That's just what they do. So you come into the situation empowered with your own people, with your cultural shield in your hand, and stop looking for them to not be racist. That's over with. We went through that in the 60s and before that. They've always been an element of people who feel threatened by anything that is powerful and Black. So you don't go in looking for with your hat in your hand looking for a handout. So I don't want to take up all the time, but I just want to say again, thank you so much for everything that you're doing. We really appreciate your professionalism. We really appreciate your efforts, the long hours that you put in order to fight those fires, certainly in Altadena, Pasadena, as well as Pacific Palisades, and the people that you've helped. So just keep on doing what you're doing, and if you need our support, we're there for you. Asante Sana.
Thank you so much, my sister. Mm-hmm. And finally, our next community person is from the National Action Network. He is the Western representative, and that is Pastor Jonathan Mosley. Do you have expressions of what you heard?
Yes, sir. Thank you, Reverend Smart. I do appreciate it to all of my brothers and sisters and those valiant men that are out there protecting us on a daily basis, making us safe. One of my classmates from elementary school through high school, the late Fire Chief Carl Inslee, when he was in the fire department, he made similar accusations and complaints. It's heart-wrenching that it's 2024 and the same ideology and the same mannerism is still existing. And especially when we're supposed to be fighting for the same common goal, and that is to protect and the safety of our people. But it still seems that this systemic racism has reared its head up once again in a more provocative way to try to eliminate and or demean those great people like yourself, Robert, and those other firefighters, trying to make it seem that you're not qualified, you're not educated, you're not equipped or fit for doing this kind of work. When you know, I know, and even they know that whenever we're called to any work, we don't only just do it well, we do it with excellence. And it's awful to hear this racism still existing, even in the fires that just happened in Pasadena, Altadena, that they would look down upon us as not being equipped, not being efficient enough to do the work when you've gone through the training, you've done excellent work. You deserve to be there. You're entitled to be there, but yet and still they feel, because of the fear. I think that the Public Enemy said fear of the Black planet, because they know whenever we show up, we also show out. We know our business. We know how to take care of business. And as it was said, I sat there in total disgust. I was very, very upset. My man can wear a cap with Black Panthers. I mean, this was part of our culture. And you see how they killed that off by lying and doing all kind of backdoor things, because they feared that if we ever united and came together, what would happen? And it is the same thing that it is now, the fear of us coming together and their fear of not being able to still maintain that plantation mentality. So I'm encouraging my brothers that are on the fire department to stay focused, stay fast. From our national leader, Reverend Al Sharpton, the National Action Network, we stand in solidarity with you, and whatever we can do and come together, Pastor Smart knows how to reach us, and we'll be there to help.
Thank you very much, Pastor Mosley. So our next steps is that we're going to have a coalition, pull a coalition together just on this issue, because a lot of us, we have a lot of coalitions, and we're going to meet with Jamie and I are going to meet with the NAACP. We're going to meet with NAN. We're going to call you all together. But something else I've seen, the Culture Center and BCCLA, but something else I'm seeing that as I was scrolling through, I see a lot of names of people who said they want to be involved. So we're going to ask them to just simply just contact us, contact one of the organizations, and just say you want to be involved, or you can just email me at pastorsmart@sclc-sc.org. pastorsmart@sclc-sc.org, and say that you want to be involved in this fight. So we are encouraged by the response we are seeing, and we are encouraged by the courage of you, the Stentorians, the courage you have. And we have to now, one of the immediate things, we have to watch the Stentorians back. Robert Hawkins has said some things. He has been bold tonight, and we got to watch his back. We have to go. We're going to organize going to the commission first, the fire commission first, while we're in the middle of getting a new chief. We have to make sure that they understand that there is a platform from the community about what has happened to Black people in this department historically. We want to change. It's time for a change, and we are the people that can do it. So, Brother Robert, thank you, and all of the men and women. We just talked, there are women in that department, all the men and the women that, we're going to stand beside you, and we're going to fight for you. As Jamie, thank you so much with your wisdom of leading us through this, of where we can go from here. I want to thank Brother Ross, who just does it perfectly for us to have these very adequate and sufficient presentations. Thank you so much. I want to thank my wife and daughter who are in the background doing a lot of the video stuff, and thank y'all so much. But Brother Robert, I noticed that there is somebody sitting next to you, Bishop Irving. Bishop Irving has been your family pastor for such a long time, and I'm going to ask Pastor Bishop Irving to close us out in prayer. Thank you all, and God bless you. Come on, Bishop Irving.
Bless you. Thank you so much. It's a pleasure to be on here. And again, this young man, I raised him basically in church, and I was just looking at Pastor Mosley. Pastor Mosey and his older brother went to church together way back in the day at Greater Bethany. It's just a small world, but thank you all. I really support this. Can I just say one thing, Pastor Smart, please, very quickly? My brother's retired cop in LA. I'll just say LA County. I won't say what city in LA County. When he first got to the department, he would hear the N word in the locker room. He would say, "Hey, can you stop while I'm in here?" So they finally stopped. Some even embraced him as a friend, even became godparents to some of the kids, that kind of thing, that kind of exchange, going to Lake Havasu on the weekends. When my brother 30 years later ran for chief, those same people turned on him again, of a different hue, a different color, of course, said, "You can be our friend, but you can't be our boss." So these things are still happening right now with these first responders, and everywhere we look, these things are happening. But I stand with you. Many of you know I represented the West Coast for Rainbow Push and Reverend Jesse Jackson for several years, and this is really my wheelhouse. I love to be involved in this whichever way I can. I'm no longer with Rainbow Push, so anybody will adopt me, I'll come on board with you.
We already said we're adopting you. I don't want Nan to jump on it. You tell him what we have discussed. So that's all.
Yes, yes.
That's my bishop. Come on now.
Thank you all, and good seeing everyone. Father, we bless you. We thank you for this time that we have come together to find marching orders from you. Be the mediator of our meeting. Speak to us and through us. Give us clear direction. Thank you for the different organizations that have come together to work for mankind. And I pray that we will stand in power of those that stood before us, even the Black Panthers and others, and even Dr. Malani Karenga. We acknowledge his great work that he's done over the years. So bless us to come together and acknowledge one another and do what's best for our people. We pray for this administration that you will take control of this situation that's way out of hand. We know that you're able. We thank you for it now, but we'll do our part. We won't back up. We won't push away. We will stand. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
Amen.
Man,
Thank you.
thank you.
Amen.
God bless you, everybody.
Bless you.
Thank you.
Amen.
Everybody have a good evening.
Thank you.
Thank you.